Hey everybody, sorry it took me a second to get everything set up here, so hang on a second, let me just double check on some settings here. Let me know if the sound is good, because I'm having trouble reading everything here. Yeah, we'll figure it out in a second, I guess. So, somebody asked me if they could hook up an LED. So let me just get cleaned up here because I had some stuff out. And essentially they're trying to hook up an LED to the board for the MKS S-Gen L2. So let's see if I can figure this out. I don't know if it's going to work because I think I tried it a while ago, but we'll see what we can do. I believe it's a regular LED, but let me check the chat, see if the person's in there. I'm not sure if they're in here yet. So how's the sound? Unfortunately, my work days are a little bit longer than normal, so usually I'm running home from work, but I'm going to start with this LED and see how it works out. Let me just clean it. This one probably won't work, but we'll see. I'm not sure who makes this one anymore. I think it's G-Tech. And so essentially what you want to do for this one is you want to match up the actual ports that are on it. So I'm going to do EXP2, and then I'm going to look on this one and look for EXP2 as well and plug in the ribbon cable, then do the same for the other one, and that's going to go to this connection over here. So once this is connected, we're going to power it up with USB power and see if we see anything. Of course, I'm having trouble getting that in there. So let's see if we can neaten this up. Well, probably not. So I'll stick it over here and make sure they're not touching. So let me run a cable to it and see what happens. So it's powering on. You can see a little bit of light. So what we need to do is set up our environment for this. So I'm going to have to open up VS Code. And I'm probably going to have to set up the environment so you can actually see it. So give me a second here. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat. Apparently I installed something that's causing pop-ups. So you might see something pop in and out. But hang on a second while I get everything organized here. So how's everybody's day going? And I'll look at the chat in 2 seconds. I just need to remove a file from my downloads folder and unzip a new one. There we go. So essentially I'm just pulling the build down and extracting it. And I'll be able to open that in VS Code in a second. I just have to check on VS Code because it's not coming up yet. So let's go back to the other screen. And let me put this in studio mode so I can see what's going on. Okay, it's not there yet. So let me move this over. It's not there yet. So let's see what's going on. This is good times. Apparently I was changing some settings and my screen got all wonky, so now you can see it. So let me look at the chat before I totally get disorganized here. Nobody's answering yet, so that's good, I guess, but there's only one person here. So today we're looking to see on the MKS Gen L version 2. someone reported they had an issue getting their LED to work. So I'm trying out the RepRap basic one. So this is going to be in Marlin. So I'll show you what I'm doing in Marlin. I'm actually going to go to Open folder, Downloads, Marlin, Marlin again, select folder. And I just got to find the board real quick here. So I'm going to go to Marlin source core boards.h, search on not SKR, MKS, well, better yet, SGenL. And there's one, but I know it's down by 1769, I think. So let me take out the L. There we go. So this is the board I'm looking for, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to minimize this, go to configuration.h, search for motherboard like usual, paste it over the ramp's default board. Change this to -1. And now I got to set up the RepRap discount full graphics smart controller. So I'll search on RepRap _ discount, I think it is. And I think this is the one, but we're going to have to figure it out. So I'm going to go over to platformio.ini, change this for the default environment to LPC 1769. I'm going to do a clean. Whoop. I'm going to do a clean. Lovely. Let's see what I'm doing wrong here. Oh, it's LPC. And now we'll do a clean. Now I'm going to double check to see that it actually exists. So I don't see the board just yet. So that's concerning. So I'm going to go over to the board and just look around here for a second, make sure I didn't screw anything up. Oh, that's not going to work at all. I have the wrong board. That's awesome. So I'll show you my mistake. I grabbed the wrong board. So I just have to grab the right one. So I'll transition over so you can see. And I'll focus this so you can actually see what's wrong. That's not the MKS SGenL. It's the GenL version 2. One of these days I'm going to learn to organize these better so I can see. But let me grab the board. Here it is. So I'm going to de-energize the board, remove that and that. Pop this board out for a second. This is what happens when you have too many boards. So I'm going to put that down, align it so I can see it. Flip this back over. And here's number 2. So number 2 goes, I believe, right here. There is actually a schematic on how to do this. I'm going to flip that back over, put it right there for the moment, power it. And I'm getting a buzzing noise, which is not so good. So I'm going to disconnect this. I'm going to pop this out and reverse these just to see if that makes any change. You won't hurt your board doing this. It's just a way to see what's going on. And the buzzing's even worse, so I can't use this LED. So that's the first issue, so let me grab a different one. This one's made by Big Tree Tech. It's very similar. I think it's Big Tree Tech. Yes, it is. So we're going to go from number 2. This might be a messy tutorial, so we're going to connect here. That's one of the reasons I haven't made it into a tutorial yet, is I probably had issues. But let's see what happens. So there's no power, so let's reverse it. Probably shouldn't do this while it's powered up, but we'll see what happens. And there's no power. So that's not going to work too well. So let me pop these out. And I'll grab another one. So let's try a full discount and see how this one works. It might be that they've reversed the connectors, in which case this is going to be a real fun one. These might be backwards, and there's two solutions. One is shaving these and then flipping your connectors, or you can get one of the crimping tools and make another one. So I'm just going to try it out and see what happens. That's not going to work probably because it just reset, so there's no power. Let's try the other direction. And there's no power. That's awesome. See? So I might have a solution that I can do quickly if I can work these things out. But they seem to have reversed the connectors, is I think the issue. But let me try a different one. I'll check on the chat because I know this is so interesting. So essentially the problem is we're going to have to look up stuff. So I'm going to go over to the browser in just a second and see if we can find a solution. So I'm going to open up this browser so you can see it in 2 seconds. I'll move it over here so I can see it. And then I'll double check to... There we go. So inside here you're going to search on MakerBase, GitHub, and then it's going to be MKS SGen LV2. This will bring us to this board, and of course they don't have a manual, so let's go to the wiki. And I don't see a lot on the monitor, but let's try this one. So I gotta see what this looks like. They're probably gonna want me to buy something. So I do have that, but I don't have it in that form. As you can see right here, I actually don't have this. So I'm probably gonna need to order that. Let's try a different one. I do have that. And let's see if it actually works, because I have another one that I can look at. So let's go back to the workbench. And we'll try the G-Tech one. This is one of the reasons I haven't done a tutorial on this yet. The documentation's super. So I'm going to connect to the first port for EXP1, and then I'm going to do EXP1 again. Then I'll do EXP2, and these are keyed, so you shouldn't have any issues there. And there's no power. So what we can do is go to the multimeter, but first let me try reversing these. Oh, there's no power because there's no power. Sorry, I'll wake up in a minute. So when you don't have the USB connected, you don't have power. There we go. So that does power up. So what I need to do is I need to go over to RepRap and change it in VS Code. So let me bring that up. So I'm going to transition over here, and I have to go back to configuration.h. I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to go back to the search for RepRap discount, and it's the other one. So it's full graphics smart controller. I'm going to remove the comment, and then I'm going to compile and upload, but let me check to see if I'm actually connected. Yes, I'm connected. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to do an upload, and I'll check on the chat. Sorry for all the running around in circles on this one. Well, we do have a lot of people, but you guys seem quiet today. So we have an error. Let's see what it says. So fatal error, can't create the actual I2C. Interesting. That's for EEPROM. That shouldn't be an issue, but we can always enable it. So let's try cleaning and building again just to make sure. Essentially, lately I've had to work late. So I get out of work about 5:35 and then run home. So that's why I'm not super organized yet. Okay, it looks like it might succeed. Okay, it did. So let's double check. Go over to the D drive. You can see firmware.bin. So I'm going to actually disconnect and go over to the desktop for a second and show you what you can do. So I'm going to pop this out to power it. So remove the power actually. Then I'm going to pop it back in. And hopefully we'll have a display. And we do. So for that display, that one works, and that's made by G-Tech. So I'm going to actually swap in a different one and see what happens. Hopefully I'll remember to power it this time. So I'll pop that out. I'll flip this over. I'll try the RepRap discount, and this is by RoboLinking.com, and we'll see if it works the same. So it's EXP2 and EXP2, flip it over. This one does not work. Now, it might be broken and I just don't know it, but I have a third one down here. Possibly a fourth and a fifth, but we'll see. This one's made by Big Tree Tech, so let me try that one. They should all operate similarly, but apparently they might be wired different. And that one doesn't work. So let's try this. I'm just going to double check the cabling. Maybe they're reversed and I don't know it. Or there's only one particular type or two particular types that work. And that would get into the data sheets on each, which I'm trying to avoid. And that's not working. So it looks like the only one that worked was the G-Tech. And if I order the other ones, I could probably test those out. I got one on the way for a different board, so I might order another one just to try that. But these were on the ramps that I used these, so I was hoping they'd work. So let's see if the person's in there that had that question. I'm using the MKS S-Gen L version 2. Someone had a question regarding being able to use their display. And they said it powered up, but I thought their display was a different type than this. And that different type, for the ones that I own, don't work. I may have another bin of them someplace, because I know I have 4 or 5 of these. But let me see if I've got that. Apparently I don't have it, but we could try. I think this is a slightly different one. It might be one similar to the Creality or Ender. So let's see, EXP1 to EXP1. Essentially, I know the person's having a problem, but it's probably RepRap discount full graphics, but this one is slightly different. There's either 1 or 2 settings that you normally set. So let's see what happens. Hopefully nothing. So this one does work. So that's another version that works. It's not real descriptive. There's probably something under the QC past, but it's in ESD 4K. So that one works as well. So let's try one last one. I know this other one's from Creality, I believe. Or not, I don't know. So this is the last one that I have. So let's try this real quick. See, EXP1 to EXP1. Unfortunately, they make the same form factor for the same thing, and then don't give a data sheet on what they're doing. So it leaves me to guess by just plugging in other things. This one might work as well. Okay, that worked. So, not very interesting, but we found 3 that worked, 2 that didn't. So maybe I can try the other one, because I know the buzzing might not be a big deal. So I'm going to try this one again and then probably reprogram it, because I probably screwed something up. So EXP1 to EXP1. And then if you have any other questions, post them in the chat and I'll see if I can look at those too. So, let's see what happens here. That's not good. So it's just not powering up. So I'll try and reverse this just to see if I can get power out of it. technically you won't damage your board doing this, so you just won't get any output. So some people suspect that they've, since the MKS Gen L days, have been reversing those ports. So what might be occurring, I don't want to try it without having another backup board, but I think I have one, is you can pop these off and reverse them. But I might have one of these that are already whittled down, in which case we can reverse them. But let me check my pile. Hey RetroCare, how's it going? Just going through various boards to see what's going on. Right now I'm going through cables to see if I've got some that are sanded off, which I do. So that's sanded off. So I can use that one, and then I have a second one someplace. Sorry, I've got about 30 of these cables, so I have to go through them real quick. So I haven't found a second one yet. But we might be able to get away with one. Otherwise, I might show you how to mod it, but I don't really want to do that on the table right now, because it involves a sharp instrument or a sander, which I don't have on hand. Oh, I got a second one. So essentially, what's going on is I've flattened that surface down so I can put it in backwards. This is not recommended, but I'm going to find the other ends and plug them in to the LED to see if that's the actual issue. So I'm going to plug EXP2 in and EXP1. And this is a good way to hopefully not damage your equipment, but I have a backup of the board, so it's not a big deal. So I'm going to first plug them in the right way, just to see what's going on and see if it powers. We have nothing. So you might see smoke rise on this, I don't know. So I'm first going to reverse the order, nothing. Then I'm going to reverse the cable. Now this is possibly a problem, but look, it powers up. So, working theory is that they reversed the cabling on either the LED or on the board. So let's see what happens. Well, that's cool, Retro. You're going to have to let me know how Clipper works out. So I'm going to go over and make this mod real quick. So I'll show you this. So I'm going to go to VS Code as soon as I can see it. There we go. And I'm going to go back to configuration.h. I'm going to put a comment in here to disable that. Then I'm going to go back up to the other one. I'm going to then enable it, and I'm going to then compile and hopefully not have a lot of errors. These LEDs are interesting to use because they have different nuances to them depending upon the board, because I know on the SKR it's correct. On this board, I think the ports are reversed. So that's successfully uploaded. Let me double check to make sure it made it there, which it did. So I'll bring you back to the workbench so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to unplug the power, plug it back in, and we'll hope that it works. And it does And I have the monitor in upside, or the LED or LCD in backwards, pardon me. So now you know what the problem is. They reversed a connector right here. I know that seems kind of lame, but those are the possible issues you can run into. Did you ever see the issue with the stepper teeth, like ripples in the print? Oh, so you mean like consistent ripples in the vertical lines? That depends on your printer. It could be that you have sliding, or it could be that your thermal cutback is occurring depending upon the stepper you're using and the speed at which you're printing, possibly, or the hardware that you're using for your stepper being your NEMA 17 or larger. I don't know what you're using, but if you can describe what you're using, I'd have to try it on a printer to actually figure it out. Let's see. I gotta read the first part here. Looks like vibration. You could try printing slower to see what happens. Or I have this little trick that I do with some of my printers. I put a rubber mat underneath them, and I'll grab a section so you can see what it looks like. So I couldn't grab the whole section, but it's basically the workout mats that you see in the gym where they put them together. And I can see if I can find it online, but basically it's a workout mat. It's not actually rubber, but it's a spongy material that absorbs shock. That's what I've used on some of my printers when I started to see lines. But on the enders, I don't usually see it. So let me take a look at the chat here. Oh, so you're using TMC 2209s on an SKR Turbo. One of the things you could try is lowering the current from 800 to 750, but I'm guessing you already tried that. Yeah, you also might want to run a fan on your steppers because the thermal cutback might be causing the stepper to stop briefly or longer, depending upon what you see. Yeah, it might also be the frame of the printer. I know that's a hard thing to say, but it sounds like you have an Ender 5, which is probably pretty solid. You tried as far as 400. What happens when you print a calibration print, like a 20 by 20 by 20 calibration cube? Do you see any issues with the calibration cube not being the right size? That's another thing I would think about. But there's also a website. Let me see if I can find it. And I'll bring it up as soon as I do. Let's see, I think it's Simplified 3D has a website that has pictures. Yeah, here it is. So let me bring this up so you can see what I'm showing you. So here's a website that helps you troubleshoot certain issues. Obviously, some of these issues are not going to be as bad, but you know, you have layer separation, you have gaps in your print, but it gives you things that you can follow when you click on these things. And it can tell you, like, layer shift, I think, is what you're kind of describing. But then there's blobs and zits. This is retraction, I think. Lines on the side of the print. Does that look like what you're seeing? let's see, I gotta read back through the comments real quick. So I'm guessing they say filament quality or bad extrusion, but I'll put this in the chat so you can actually try it out and see if it has a solution to your issue. Yeah, there might be another one for vertical lines. Let's see. Let's see, warping is usually leveling. Curling or rough corners. It might be an echo that's occurring while you're printing, I think is what you're trying to say. And I think I have that similar issue. What's the increment of your steps? Is it 256 or is it less? It's this one, exactly the same. You're gonna have to tell me which this one is. Is it curling or rough corners? Or is it overheating? Yeah, you're gonna have to point me in the direction, RetroCare, because I'm not sure. Which one you're talking about, because I'm just guessing as to which one it is. 16 with interpolation on microstepping. So you could try increasing it to 32 and seeing if it changes. It's the same as the link I posted. Okay, I might not be able to see the link, but if you put it in in Discord, I might be able to see it that way. So let me move over to Discord, see if you're gonna post it there. It's gonna be in the general chat if you do, probably. Okay, I'm watching the general chat, but I know it's gonna take a second, so. It's the same as the link I posted. So I'm not seeing links in, obviously in here. Oh, okay. Now I am. Okay, so you're seeing vertical lines on the Y axis. Let's see if we can find something that actually shows that. But that looks like it either is happening in the Y or X direction, which would lead me to believe that it's, let me see if I can find layer shifting maybe, but it's not really shifting that bad. It's just showing an echo. So let's see if we can find something with an echo in it. Of course, they don't show anything that really similar. We got lines over here, stop extruding mid-print, that's not it. Blobs and zits, maybe, but there's not a lot of zits on that. It's actually doing pretty good for a printer, but you can see there's an echo occurring on it. And I'll show you guys what I'm looking at so that you can see. So let me see if I can see that you're seeing what I'm seeing. Okay. So this is what I'm currently looking at. And you see how there's a Y right here, like an echo? So we've got to find out if there's something for like echoing a print. So let's see. Yeah, there's not a lot of layer shift. Here we go. Vibrations and ringing, that might be close. Ringing is a wavy pattern that may appear on the surface of your print due to a printer vibration or wobbling. Typically, you'll notice the pattern when extruding or extruder is making a sudden direction change, such as a near sharp corner. For example, if you're printing a 20 millimeter cube, each time the extruder changes to print a different surface of the cube, it would need to change directions. The inertia of the extruder can create vibrations. When these sudden direction changes occur, which will be visible on the print itself, we will look at the most common ways to address this. Printing too fast, your acceleration, and then mechanical issues. So I guess those are the 3 things to check. I'll put the link in the chat just so you can see if those things affect it. So I don't know if that's going to help, but that's a possible thing you can try. So I hope that helps. But does anybody have any other questions that I might be able to help with from a distance? Let me move this back over so I can see on the other side. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's going to be a speed related issue is my guess. I don't know. Ender 5 is a solid frame, so I'm not too worried about that. So I'm guessing it's not mechanical. Firmware and acceleration or printing too fast, which are essentially the same things. You could try the default settings that you see in Marlin, and I'll see if I can pull those up. So let me see if you can see what I'm seeing. Okay. So if I search on A4988, just down below, it might be in here. These are defaults. You might try lowering these two, maybe to 1000, but you can also lower them in Pronterface, and I'll show you that. So if I go to my desktop, Pronterface, you might be able to change the speed over here too. I think if you close the app after you change it, it'll retain those numbers. But I don't know what you're using for your actual printer, so it could be hard for me to figure out. But let me check on the chat here. Yeah, it's hard for me to diagnose, obviously, from a distance, but I think it's speed or acceleration. Try taking it down by maybe 1000 first, seeing if it goes away. If it does, then crank it up about halfway in between and basically think of it like a bubble sort. Yeah, I don't know if it's too slow. Usually around 750 should be a good number for the 800 number for the stepper microcurrent. Let me pull it up so I know what I'm talking about here. If you search on 800, I think this is what you're referring to. For X current, I usually go down to 750 on this and then leave all the other things the same. Well, normally I don't buy followers, but thanks for the offer. Oh, that was new. Actually, I never buy followers, but I don't know why I said normally. It's probably because I'm tired. that, and technically I'm already famous. That's kind of a joke within a joke, but if you're watching the live stream, there is a little riddle in there and a symbol that gives away a lot about me. I don't know if you've seen it, but when you see that pop up, that symbol says a lot about me. Most people in the Middle East can figure it out right away, but I've kind of made it cryptic on purpose. But it looks like a 3D printed thing anyways, so. Okay, well, if you don't have a lot of questions, let me just show you Discord real quick in case you have a question or you have a particular thing that you want to see as a tutorial. So let me bring this over so you can view it. So this is Discord. I get a lot of questions, obviously, in different places here. The general chat's a good resource because a lot of people have different experiences that you can learn from. But if you have a request for a YouTube video, you can always put it in here, and I'll try and address it depending upon the cost. And speaking of cost, I have to say how much of I appreciate the super chats and the PayPals. I'm grateful that you're giving via either or. It's really helpful for me to buy equipment. Like you see, it can get rather expensive quick. And apparently I have a bad habit of buying the same equipment over and over, or slightly different. But one last thing I want to try on the desktop is I want to show if we can get the other LED to work. Oh, there's the pop-up. So there was a pop-up a second ago. Here it comes again. That's the cryptic thing that I put in there in the drawing. It's a weird riddle. But if you're from the Middle East or you speak Hebrew, you might figure it out. Wow, this doesn't sound good. So let's try this. And this might not work out too well. Yeah. This one's a very crappy design, as you can see. I don't think you should buy this, but it's a smart. The name is kind of ironic. It's called a Smart Controller V1.4. It's actually used for the old ramps. It's in 2 pieces. So originally I had an actual case that I designed for this, but it does not work very well anymore. But you have to plug it in, and these might be reversed again for it. So I really don't want to mess with this one because it's kind of making me tired. But I want to stow these cables because I always am looking for them. We could try some other LEDs. I do have a bunch of other ones we could try, but these are different settings. And I think they work with the MKS, but maybe I'll save that for another tutorial. It's been forever and a day since I've used those. So yeah, default acceleration. Not sure what the setting's going to be for your particular printer. But I can say, you know, you could bring it down by 100, see what happens. Just basically, it's going to be trial and error. In this case, it might be mostly error until you get it. But it's a hard one to solve based on each configuration being different from what I can see. Normally, it might also be tuning, but seeing how these are already set up for you, I don't suggest tuning these if you don't have to. But it's also probably a different board we're talking about, so I don't want to say tune anything until you get a good idea of how you can control it. But obviously, I haven't been able to give you a lot of time today. Kind of been working 11-hour days, so I'll see if I can give you more time later in the week. Probably either Friday or Saturday. I might do another pop-up like I did Sunday. But I'm going to try and record some of the requested tutorials that people have, so that I can actually have something that people will want to view. And if you have any suggestions on how to do a tutorial that you want to see me change things, let me know. But for now, I'm going to let y'all go so you can enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for stopping by. And take care and be safe.